Hey, welcome back. You never really know what you've lost until it's gone. Stick with me. Okay, I'm just going to get right into it. Uh, Given the last one I did and nothing went right, I was going to kind of rehash some of that this time around, but events are moving faster than I can move. There was a not entirely sure what at the Capitol yet. There was some rioting. Someone was shot. Offices were broken into. And from some of the information that I've been getting, it's starting to look an awful lot like this was a big photo op for the Democrats and a way to distract the proceedings on the floor of the Senate when they were challenging the electors on the vote. So it all came in pretty handy for some strange reason for the Democrats. And the Democrats were all right there with their pre-prepared speeches and everything. It kind of makes me seriously think that there's something to the idea that this was staged to a degree. But at the end of the day, the Democrats did succeed in getting out of having to explain the irregularities in the vote count, and Biden is I can't really say president-elect. He's more president-appointed. President appointed by the mainstream media, the deep state, and the swamp. But there were some people that voted for him. Not as many as the numbers would necessarily tell you, but this goes beyond the 80 million people who were disenfranchised by the election. Just going to kind of give you a rundown here on the things that we are about to lose because Creepy Joe's moving into the White House. Briefly, till Kamala Harris gets in there. Okay. Things that we're going to lose. Well, number one on this, we're going to lose the rooting out of the deep state. Since the whole Democrat apparatus is dependent upon the deep state is going to be entrenched even deeper than it was before. Not to any surprise by anybody, but the deep state is really going to be in deep. Expect to see the re-weaponizing of executive branch departments like the IRS. That way they can prevent another Donald Trump type person from trying to win an election and root out the deep state again, because those departments are being weaponized to use against political enemies. It's a common practice in most banana republics. That's where they get the whole crime corruption thing as far as the state goes. It's also fairly commonly used in most uh, communist regimes. So, hey, they're right on top of that. Um, More things we're going to miss. The abandonment of the rule of law. The rule of law is not going to mean anything to people like you and me uh, after the 20th of January. The only people, well, the Democrats, of course, the party faithful, will be above the rule of law. And the rest of us, well, we can expect any kind of crackdown if we step out of line. Again, that's fairly common in most banana republics and any totalitarian state. And hey, don't think that they're going to limit the weaponization of like the IRS and the ATF and all and the BLM and all that to just political enemies. Anybody that speaks out against the state is going to be right in line. As a matter of fact, uh, Kamala Harris said, or Kamala Harris, I guess. Kamala Harris actually said specifically, hey, if you were a Trump supporter, we're coming after you. Yes, she actually said that. Number 3, things we're going to miss. A government for the people. Yeah, and now it's going to be a government for the party. The party being one party system now. Because, well, yeah, I suppose we can get into that. Yeah, the party is now going to take over. And they may run some rhinos, may allow some rhinos to run as long as they promise not to disrupt the state apparatus, to put on the show that there's a free and fair election. But the outcome of all these elections is going to be foretold. There's not going to be any free and fair elections after this point. They're not going to investigate any allegations of election fraud at this point. I think, I suspect that the reason Bill Barr bailed out what he did was he was told that if you pursue this line, you're done. Your career is over. You will disappear from the political spectrum and be sentenced to political purgatory if you attempt to go forward on any of these cases that were being worked on. So he said, well, okay, I'm out of here. I think that's why the Supreme Court didn't take a lot of those cases. John Roberts was also told, yeah, we're going to stack the court if you don't toe the line for the party. And like they did back in 1933, guess what? The court backed down. Because back in 1933, FDR said the same thing. He said, this court is way overbooked. They're overworked. There's too much of a caseload. we need to expand the court. And while he couldn't get that past a Republican Congress, the fact that he was risking a Democrat Congress coming along meant that his threat of packing the court could have become genuine, and the court backed down. So, open borders are going to be a thing. So, and all of these people that are crossing the border illegally, or what we would consider illegally, they're going to get immediately on the voter rolls. So even though there's this thing in the Constitution that says, you're not supposed to have foreign powers interfering in the election, the Constitution is going to be one of those things that goes by the wayside, particularly the Bill of Rights. There are a lot of things in the Constitution that limit the power of government. And the Democrats have for a long time railed against it simply because it limits their ability to rule over you, which actually what it was designed to do. But just to give you an idea, the Green New Deal that they're toting right now, big deal. Green New Deal. We're gonna push for the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal would not survive a constitutional examination. You can't get the Green New Deal if the Bill of Rights is adhered to. As a matter of fact, when it comes right down to it, you're also going to wind up with higher taxes. Yes, he's going to raise taxes on you. He claims he's only raising taxes on the rich. But if you look at economics, at least the way Adam Smith explained it to me, if you ever read his book, The Wealth of Nations, anytime you meddle with that up and down on the taxes and you're taxing the rich don't actually pay those taxes. They pass that on to the middle class and the poor. So you wind up paying the taxes by shelling out far more money for higher living expenses. Keep in mind, this is very important. The higher taxes, the higher living expenses for middle class individuals all fits within the bracket of what they're trying to accomplish with stakeholder capitalism. Stakeholder capitalism is a lot like what happened in Nazi Germany back in the 30s. People still owned corporations. People still own businesses. The wealthy people owned the businesses. And the wealthy people continued to make money from those businesses. But essentially, those businesses were under the control of Albert Speer, who was he was in charge of war production for Hitler's war machine. And so the government controlled production. The wealthy people, the investors class, got wealthy from it. So the government got what they wanted, and the wealthy got what they wanted, and the middle class slowly disappeared and became part of the poor class. So you've got like 5% at the top, 95% at the bottom, and nothing in between. That's stakeholder capitalism in a nutshell. So you've got that. And to help this along, we get to say hello to single payer healthcare. Because they're going to try to resurrect Obamacare, which is going to drive prices up and eliminate competition from the marketplace. Once the competition is eliminated and companies bail out and everybody's standing there saying, we can't afford this, the government is going to swoop in and save us by taking over. If you've ever watched any of my economics classes, when I talk about healthcare, your production and demand schedule, supply and demand schedule, if you look at it, no government can pay what we currently pay for healthcare. Okay, that's fiscally impossible. So, what do? Well, first of all, we reduce the costs by limiting the amount of money a doctor can charge, limiting the amount of money that medical facilities can charge. Well, guess what that does? That removes doctors from the supply side. If doctors can't make any money, they're not going to do it. So you lose medical professionals as you limit their ability to make money. Bottom side of the coin, as everything goes through the government now, all you have to do is walk in and show them your little card, and you get put on your waiting list because there's not enough medical healthcare professionals to go around. And guess what? Those death panels that everybody says, oh, they don't exist. They exist. Every country with socialized medicine has a death panel. So if you happen to be elderly, if you happen to be crippled, if you happen to be to have a serious illness such as like cancer or something of that nature, they're going to balance your potential productivity against the expense of your treatment. That's how that works. And so guess what? If you fall under that category of elderly or crippled or someone who's not going to be able to provide a reasonable return on the investment, they're not going to make the investment. You just go into a limbo state where you are on the waiting list indefinitely for everything. Unless, of course, you agree to a euthanasia program. So that's another thing we get to look forward to under the Harris-Biden Quisling presidency. Quisling? Oh. That's a little historical footnote. Vidkun Quisling was a military officer in the Norwegian military in the 1930s. In 1940, he aided the Fifth Column to infiltrate Norway so that the ports could be open to invasion by Germany. And it worked. The ports were overrun, and the country fell in a matter of days. For his services, even though Hitler didn't necessarily care for him all that much, he made Quisling the puppet head of state of Norway, which he remained until he was deposed and executed in 1945. From that time on, the Scandinavian word for traitor has been Quisling. And I use the term Quisling because I think it's very appropriate at this point in time. We have an appointed president-elect, and he does not, he doesn't represent the Constitution in virtually any way, manner, or form. He is bent on eliminating parts of the Bill of Rights. He's made no bones about it. He is going after free speech. He is going after the right to assemble. He is going after Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms. I don't have my pocket Constitution handy here. Oh, yeah, I do. Let's see what other rights that he has. The Sixth Amendment. Again, Fifth Amendment, red flag laws. The Eighth Amendment, the 10th Amendment, or the Ninth Amendment, and the 10th Amendment. And, oh yeah, the 11th Amendment. Oh my. Yeah, the 11th Amendment specifically prohibits our judicial system from basically declaring law relevant in violation of our own Constitution. Go figure. Yeah, that's going to happen. So, welcome to 2021. And, I wonder how long it's going to take some of you to realize what we've lost. Guess we'll find out. And next time I'll see if I can find some more stuff out about Wednesday, January 6th, 2021. It's, it's looking a lot like this was staged. And I think given the number of staged events that the Democrats have put on here in the last 4 years, they're getting pretty good at this. They should probably run for Hollywood. They could probably come up with some better material. Hollywood's been getting pretty stale the last few years. So, till next time.